So I just had a thought and I figured I'd make a YouTube video about it because I haven't made a video in a while. So it's about split testing, and recently, if you've been doing cold email, deliverability has just been getting tougher and tougher. And so one of the huge things that I've seen is people sort of, and I guess this isn't just recently, but it probably applies more to people now if you're facing issues with deliverability or different things, that people only really split test like copy. They only split test scripts when really like your split testing, it's not just like throwing three scripts at a campaign and seeing which does best. Your split testing is like toward a goal. Like you have an aim, like you're trying to hit a KPI, and then you're iterating your whole cold email campaign to try to hit that KPI. So like, I mean, split testing might not even be the right term for it now that I think about it. Like, I guess I probably got this word from Charlie Morgan, but iteration I like a bit better, because it may be that you have a really good script, a really good lead list, but your infrastructure is just not inboxing. And so next iteration you have to do is you change the infrastructure, but you keep everything else the same to see if the infrastructure is the problem. So you got to kind of have like a wide scope in terms of iteration, just to make sure that you're not just blindly changing things in a mode of panic, and you're actually doing the highest, I guess, leverage thing, or like pushing the needle forward as much as possible toward whatever sort of a goal you're trying to come to. So the reason I'm saying this is because if you're facing deliverability issues, right, and you're not hitting KPI, instead of just sort of scrambling and trying to get a bit better by changing your lists and scripts and stuff, just keep everything you're running the same and change your infrastructure to see how much deliverability was an actual problem. Because even if your scripts are somewhat bad, you don't know how bad or good they were until you actually like isolate this variable and you like get deliverability to be normal again, and then you can see what that data actually looks like when it's not skewed from landing in spam. That hopefully is not too sort of out there. But anyways, I just didn't really have anything to screen share, so I picked this doc. I think I went over it on a previous YouTube video in a Miro-board forum. But this is kind of the order of split testing I do for like campaigns. And so I would say, I've said like don't split test copy, but it's not really that simple. You can split test copy, but just don't only split test copy. So when you're split testing, you want to actually have like something in mind that you're trying to change, right? So it might be your offer, seeing which offer performs better. Like I can, and it might even just be like the way you're framing your offer. It might not even just be a different offer. So like maybe we'll even go as granular as switching that from offer to offer framing or offer. But I don't like to get too niche with it, because usually there's only a few sort of like variables you have to work with to hit KPI, and you don't have to go insanely deep and granular with the split testing to be able to get good results with cold email. If you usually get like your offer decent, your inboxing, your targeting's decent, your risk aversion decent, you'll hit KPI. So you don't need to go too crazy deep into it, and don't need to overcomplicate it. Yeah, and so I would say if you're split testing, so you can go split test call to action, split test case study, whatever. If you're split testing the copy, I would think of it as like you're split testing the structure of the email. So you might try a one-liner versus like two-liner or whatever. I don't even know what's a thing, but like a one-liner versus like more copy, or like the way you frame it, or like the order of like risk reversal then offer, or offer then risk reversal. And then what you also need is like an outcome. So it's like, what are you split testing for, right? Because you can't just say that this is better than that. Like it's better at getting a certain result or a certain thing. So usually that thing is going to be revenue, or positive replies, or booked calls. But and it also depends on how far you track, right? So like you might find that one offer gets way more positive replies but less booked calls, maybe because the leads like don't have as high intent or whatever. Or you might find like whatever. I mean, there's like a million different cases, and they're not gonna be all like wishy-washy, all over the place. But I'm pretty much just saying, like, you got to be pretty, you got to like be organized with your data, because it's very easy to read data like wrong. Because, like, I mean, if I just show you two campaign screenshots, one has 20 interested leads from, say, 1,000 sent, one has 10 interested leads from 1,000 sent. You'll assume that the 20 interested leads was twice as good, but it may be half as good, because the 10 interested leads were way more high intent. You booked more calls, and you closed more deals, and you made more revenue, right? So I guess when you're iterating, split testing, whatever, keep the end goal in mind. So that's probably gonna be like revenue, business growth, whatever. And then, like, you may not be testing every single variable up to that goal, but kind of like try to get like at least a view of like, okay, well, which is like kind of moving closer to that goal. And it may be like, okay, you split test and now you're hitting KPI for booked calls. You're hitting the amount of booked calls you want per month. And now your next constraint, your next problem is that they're not qualified enough. So you might split test to get better qualified calls. And then you also almost have to do like a calculation versus for like, well, if all the calls are qualified, how many less calls would I accept to get, right? Because I guess the unqualified calls almost don't even count as the call. So then you should be only split testing for qualified calls and not just normal calls. So if a campaign gets 20 calls, that's not even the metric that you should be tracking. It might only be getting 12 qualified calls. And so if another campaign gets 15 calls, but 15 qualified calls, then that campaign with the 15 calls is better because they're all qualified, right? So like make sure that you're tracking the exact data point that your outcome is. Like you're tracking the exact data point that you're trying to get to, very specifically and clearly, right? And sometimes it's kind of hard. Like if you're trying for interested leads, how do you judge if a lead's interested, right? Like you might have like a ChatGPT sort of automation running, but like to automatically categorize it. But if someone says like maybe to your email or something, or if they ask a question like, what's the cost? I'm not sure if I want this. Like, is that interested? Is that not? Yeah. So I guess the reason of this video is just to say like there's a lot of complication, a lot of thought that you could put into iterating and split testing. So just keep in mind that it's not like just like super straightforward and simple, and don't just click like split test by reply rate and instantly and assume that you're good for that. When you're like trying to iterate and improve your campaigns, there's a lot of factors you should take into account, and tracking all those factors. Like I definitely don't track like all of those variables and factors, but you can. And I guess you should probably just like try to lay it out at least, and lay it out in front of you, and like just look at what there is to track, and at least circle the things that are highest leverage, of highest importance, and try to cover those. Yeah, I don't know if this was just a brain dump or if that kind of made sense. I'm just trying to lay out that there's a lot of thought you could put into this, and just to understand that and then take at least a nugget of that and apply it to your iteration or split testing, hopefully that could help you out. So yeah, this might be a bit of a weird, complicated video, so drop a comment if it doesn't really make sense, or you can shoot me a message on like X, Twitter, if you have any problems with your cold email. I can help you out there, like free, unless you want to book like a paid consultation call. And if you're a business that needs like more clients, like a B2B agency, you can book a call in the description, and happy to hop on a free call. Worst case, I'll just give you like a lead list to target or something. I can even show you like the scripts I'm running. Yeah, subscribe.